My name is Keith, and from the time I was about 4 years old, I was interested in being a part of the entertainment business. And I've done many things throughout that time, from singing in bands, writing music, hosting television shows, everything involved in the professional wrestling business. And I've written comic books, done a lot of things, and almost all of those things failed in some way or another. But I still kept going. I still wanted to continue to create. And there's just something in me that drives me to create. And I started thinking, well, what is it that drives anyone to create? And that's going to be the point of this podcast. We're going to talk to people from all aspects of the entertainment industry. We're going to find out what made them interested in creating art, and why, when faced with success, when faced with failure, the ups and downs of life and life in the entertainment business, they continue to create. So, and hopefully we'll have some good and interesting conversations along the way that you'll be interested in hearing. So tune in to the Most Excellent Entertainment Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Most Excellent Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host, Keith Miller, and joining me today is a guitarist, songwriter, producer, podcaster, teacher. He may even have some more things that are going on that I haven't thought of. Mr. Frank Palangi.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, and I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, anytime, man. Yeah, a lot of different hats, as I say. You got to wear a lot of different hats.
For sure. That seems to be kind of a theme, honestly. Most of the people who come on here, there's a few who are super focused on one thing, and then there's other ones who like just have creative juices flowing and they're all over the place, you know? So
oh yeah. So sometimes you have to, you know what I mean? You're forced to.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to diversify to get as much out there as you can. I guess I'm not, I've done a lot of stuff too, brother. So
yeah,
music, movies,
it
wrestling.
all adds up.
Yeah, for sure. It's all part of the deal. So, all right, man. So I guess the first thing we want to start out with is what got you interested in creating music? Like, when did you know that's what you wanted to do? What kind of sparked that in you?
Really, when I was a kid, horror movies and movies like Terminator and stuff, like the soundtracks, just really inspired me to like music in general. I mean, in the house, we always had a piano. My grandfather was like a concert violinist, even though he was kind of too old to play it. I think I only saw him play it maybe 3 times in my life. But he'd sit down on the piano and start to play. And so I think when I was a kid, my mom would set me down and she would just see what I would do. Because some kids, they sit down and they bang on the piano. I took my finger and I think I went like this. I'm like, oh, it makes noise. And I started making other noise and I played it nice.
Nice.
So,
did you know what's funny about that? So like on Sunday, we were at church and my kid was in the primary room. They have a piano in there.
Yeah.
And he was playing it. He knows nothing about piano. I think it's the first time he ever touched one, to be honest. But he was keeping a rhythm. And there was another kid on the other end of the piano who was trying to play with him, and he was just like, brr, 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 brr. So I was like, dude, do you want to take piano lessons? I was like, because I think we might have something here.
That or drums,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. He's always been interested in drums, but
yeah, it's good, especially you start them out really, really young. Just let them take to whatever they want to.
Yeah, it's interesting how some people just have that, they're naturally rhythmic, or they can naturally kind of figure out music, and then there's other people who are just not part of their thing. So
there's kids like your son that play it, and like you said, the other kid who bashes it. Maybe he's a football player. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe
whatever.
Casey's a point guard too.
Okay.
So there's a rhythm to basketball.
That, oh yeah, there is.
Yeah. So I think that helps.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be a wrestler.
You never know, dude. He's not interested, but
he's still young.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was running my wrestling promotion, when he was born, people were always like, "Oh, next world champ." And then after a couple, after he got a little bit older, he was like, I don't know. but he definitely is into music and basketball and stuff, so that's
It's
cool.
funny with the wrestling stuff. I used to play like before the show started. You know how they have
Yeah.
music and stuff once in a while.
Oh, sure.
So that was really fun. Even if it was like acoustic rock sets and stuff like that, I
Right.
would do. And he's like, "When are we gonna get the band?" I could never make the band though at the wrestling shows, and I go, "I know that would sound epic because everyone loves the
Yeah.
hard music on there." But
Yeah.
um, that was fun. I just watched that whole WWE documentary, I think on Netflix. That
Oh,
had the,
Mr. McMahon thing.
yeah, had the
Oh, that
Hulk
was
in
a
it and
trip,
stuff.
dude. Yeah, that was a
Oh
trip.
yeah,
One of the funny things about independent wrestling anyway. Where are you at?
upstate New York.
Okay, that's actually where I'm from too. I'm from Syracuse. I was born in Ithaca.
Okay, so you know like
So
Destiny. There's a few companies around here too.
yeah, the big ones when I were there were like, well, NWA Upstate, which I think can't remember what that turned into, but
Yep.
2PW
Yeah.
was around, and
Yep.
House of Glory. So, but yeah, so the funny thing about wrestling is depending on the size of your independent company, you're doing shows in gyms a lot. And
Yeah.
gyms don't have the best acoustics.
No,
So
not at all. Or
yeah,
these we do them in armories and in
sure.
YMCA's they had them
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
ran in a
Especially for
still
music.
sure, sure. We ran in a well, it's awesome for wrestling because the crowd bounces off and it makes it sound like there's so many more people in there than there,
Oh, okay.
so it makes the crowd sound a lot louder.
Yep.
But when you've got stuff bouncing off when you're making music, it's not as well, it's not as good.
No.
So,
Nope.
but yeah, we had a local band. I'm out in Indiana now, but we had a local band. We were running in a church gym that was a steel building, and they
Ooh.
just came in with their amps, and they were a super loud band, and they only got to play like two songs. And I was like, guys, we can't do this. I was like, it's killing people. I was like, there are literally fans who are leaving because they
Yeah.
can't deal with the noise. I felt
It's
so
so
bad,
loud.
but it was just like it wasn't going to happen.
Yep. Yep.
But
Oh yeah. The echoes and reverberation is massive.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane.
Yep.
Um,
But
but
But yeah, dude, it's going back like yeah, I used to have the Hulk Hogan, the rubber wrestling figures and stuff.
oh,
They
sure,
showed on that thing. I was like, I had
yeah,
that same one. I had all the. I buried half of mine in the ground because I thought it was cool back when
right,
I was
right,
really really young. I
right.
was like, I wish I didn't do that.
I
But
know,
well, you mentioned movies and stuff because I make movies too. So I would
sure,
always have action figures and make up storylines and stuff. And then in that case, they all end up dead and buried, or
right,
or they end up in the fireplace. Or I used to throw them off like a railing we had that went down the stairs and stuff. And
nice,
there was all rubber toys, some GI Joes and stuff like that. But I took took good care of my stuff. My friends would actually come
yeah.
over and break them all.
Right, right. I remember I had
I'm not a
a pop
destroyer. I'm not like I'm gonna throw every figure in the
creator. Yeah,
fire. Yeah, no,
yeah,
this is all scenarios.
yeah. What's that kid from Toy Story? Uh,
Yeah, with the
the one
dynamite.
who, yeah, who like ripped the toys apart and like rebuilt them into like monsters and
Yeah,
blew them up and stuff.
I'm not like
Um,
that. But
yeah.
anyway, so I was watching the movie The Crow with Brandon
Oh,
Lee,
cool. Sure.
and that's why I play guitar.
That's
That
awesome.
that movie alone. I saw that movie and I go, "What's that he's playing?" I'm like, and I knew he was like a dead rock star, but I didn't really know what it
Yeah.
meant,
Right.
And I was like, "Well, the music's so cool in this and it's so interesting and it's different." I really like Batman 89
Sure.
and I had a little bit of that gothic, obviously gothic flair. Batman does
Right.
too. And I
Right.
was
Right.
like, this is cool and this is cool. The guy dies, comes back to life, but that solo man, especially the one where he rips on the rooftop and then smashes his guitar, I was
Yeah.
like, I want to play that.
That's awesome, man.
So my parents are like, well, I got an acoustic guitar from Ames
Okay.
back in the day.
I remember Ames.
And they're like, if you play this, if you have any interest, you learn a little bit, we'll get you an electric guitar with an amp that has that distortion stuff. So
Nice.
back then it was
Nice.
a crate 15-watt amp, which
Okay.
are still kicking around some places. Believe it or not, I loved Creed too.
Hey, Creed's awesome.
So I was like, Creed uses crate. I'm gonna stick with crate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
I,
why.
I love the first Creed album, My
Yeah.
Own Prisons. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
heavy. I think that the third album took a little bit more for me to get into because I thought the lyrics were sort of silly. And
Yeah, I loved Human Clay, and that's my favorite one.
yeah,
Um,
nice,
and then there
nice.
was a demo before the first album, which
Oh, cool.
was it's cool to listen to it just to hear all the differences and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I think they actually just released a lot of those too on that new disc or whatever that came out.
nice, nice.
But so anyway, back in the day, I worked with a guy that actually produced that demo.
Oh, it's
He
fire.
put out my first single, like Remembrance. I don't remember even the name of the place, but he's like, yeah, we had them in here when they were nothing. Basically, we just recorded
Yeah,
that demo, and then somebody found the demo and wanted to blow them up. So
that's awesome, man.
I remember though, I listened to the one of the songs, and I was like, it didn't sound anything like Scott Stapp or Creed. It sounded like Pearl
Sure, sure.
Jam.
And they had that
Yeah,
comparison anyway, you know.
yeah.
Um, I remember I was dating a girl and she didn't think that they sounded anything alike because she hated Creed. So she was just like, "Oh, she doesn't sound like Eddie Vedder. Eddie Vedder's so much better." So I had a buddy of mine take like non-radio songs and make a mix, one Creed song, one Pearl Jam song, and I
Uh-huh.
was like, "Tell me which band is which." And she couldn't.
It's
So I'm
really
like, see, because the voices sound the same. Like it's very similar.
very
Similar enough
similar.
to where someone who doesn't really know the bands
Yeah,
maybe isn't going to be
yeah.
able to tell, you
Scott
know?
yells though. Pearl Jam
Yeah.
really doesn't. Well, he does a little bit, but not the
Yeah.
same type of yell. Not the.
Right, right. Especially on
Yeah,
songs like Porch and stuff like that. He got really
yeah,
aggressive with his vocals. But
yep.
um, I remember when My Sacrifice came out, and I was like, why isn't anybody talking about that's Kashmir? And it kind of irritated me.
Okay, yeah. I haven't really listened to that
I
song as much, but
feel like I was the only person who picked it up. I was like, that
okay.
sounds like Kashmir. But, Led Zeppelin is a freaking great influence. So,
Oh yeah, whatever
you know,
works, right?
yeah,
Sometimes we
absolutely.
all have songs
Now,
like that, you know. That's from
yeah,
like Megadeth, isn't it?
yeah, well, maybe
Maybe
for sure. I
some of the
remember I
instrumental
wrote,
stuff. They're like, that sounds like Metallica a little bit from you, and I'm like, yeah, I
oh,
know,
yeah. Yeah.
you know.
I remember I wrote this song one time and I was super proud of it. And I sang it for a buddy of mine who's in a band. And he told me that it sounded like, it's a Spin Doctors song. I can't,
Oh, you're
um,
like,
how
yeah,
could,
bring it on.
yeah, how could you want me when you know, or how could you want him when you know you can't have me?
Yep.
And he was like, it sounds just like that song. And I was like, oh, I was listening to that album a lot
It's
when I
when
wrote this.
somebody tells you that you sound like somebody that you're like, what? Like how
Yeah,
did you even get to that conclusion? Like
yeah,
somebody
for
said,
sure.
I sound like Rick Springfield or something. I was
Really?
like, I don't see that at all.
Yeah, yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
I love Rick Springfield, but I don't hear it in your music.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
picked up on a lot of like post grunge, maybe Breaking Benjamin type
Yep.
stuff like that when I was listening to it.
Yep.
That's what I
Godsmack, Three
sure.
Days Grace, Metallica, a lot of 80s stuff too. Even though my music isn't
Yeah,
80s, there's a
right.
lot of 80s. That's where the melody comes from,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. I heard some like punk aggression maybe and some
Yeah.
yeah, some 80s melodies and stuff like that.
Yep.
But as far as how it all comes together, it just reminded me of that like 2000, like 99 to like 2004 time period of music, I guess, like a
Yep.
lot. So it was
Perfect.
really cool.
Yep.
Really good stuff.
Little Green Day, a little bit of Blink 182 and Good Charlotte, Simple Plan,
Sure.
uh kind of Papa Roaches kind of stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Papa Roach's later stuff, like from Getting
Yeah.
Away with Murder on. I mean,
Yeah.
I love their early stuff too, but I think that they became more of an individual band. Like they didn't like they got away from the crowd a little bit with Getting
They
Away
didn't
with
stay
Murder.
with that sound. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
kind of
I liked it a lot.
evolved.
Right. They kept the
Yeah.
rhythm, but more singing, like better vocals, I think, for out of
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So I really
Yeah. Where I mean, I love like Limp Bizkit too, like that
yeah.
whoever the guitar player was, and I listened to Mission Impossible too, and I was
Okay.
like, that's another one I listened to, and I go, I want to play that. The wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. I was like, it's such a simple riff, but how come it sounds like heavier than like Rob Zombie or something?
Right. Right. Well,
And
the tone that they got like is just crazy on the Limp
yeah.
Bizkit
And then
albums.
I heard I Disappear. So it's really movies, Freddy versus
Yeah.
Jason soundtrack, Bride of Chucky. I was
Sure.
introduced to I'm Your Boogeyman, White
Okay.
Zombie, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Living Dead
I
Girl was like one of my favorite songs too.
It's a great song. Yeah,
Oh
I was
yeah.
a big fan of like um before White Zombie really blew up. They used to come down to Ithaca and play Max's down there
Oh
all the
really?
time. Yeah, constantly. They were well, I guess they were coming up because they were from the city. So they would come
Yep.
up, they'd do the drive and come up and play Max's. And I saw them there with Monster Magnet and this band called Inclined.
Yeah.
And
I love
when
Monster
Rob,
Magnet.
oh yeah, for sure, so trippy, man. But
Dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
dun.
but when Rob Zombie got on the mic, he was like, "Hey, we're the house band." I thought that was hilarious. But that was like when La Sector Sisto had first come out, and Thunder Kiss
Oh
and
yeah,
Black
yeah.
Sunshine and Planet Pretty
Yep.
Kill. Like, oh, that's the first concert I ever went to where I started out at the front of the stage when the opening or when the headliners came out, and
Yep.
that bass, and freaking, I got pushed all the way back to the bar. Like
Wow.
it just erupted, dude, and I had to spend the rest of the concert making my way back up to the front. Like, it was
It just
insane,
was so
man.
much movement. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Everybody, I
yeah.
would not expect it to just become this giant mass of like bodies just shoving everybody everywhere. But it was so fun, such a great show.
It's
Like,
funny. I've never seen Rob Zombie. I've always wanted to. And
oh man,
but I've opened up for Power Man a couple
oh
times.
sure, sure, sure.
And they are the loudest indoor band I've ever heard. And their
I'm sure.
sound, they sound just like the CD. Their sound is so dialed.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
know their gear, they know their stuff. I remember,
Right.
so I met Spider in Nashville. So my first recording experience was like 2010.
Okay,
I was working with the singer of Full Devil Jacket, and he
okay.
had a band called Day of Fire. So I
Gotcha.
just basically tracked with all those guys. I go to this restaurant, sort of, and I see a guy with the white spiky hair. I go, "This is either Billy Idol or the guy from Power Man." I
That's
walk right
awesome.
up to him. I go, "Are you the singer of like Power Man?" I go, "You gotta be, because like you're not Billy Idol." He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm that dude." He
That's
goes.
awesome. That's awesome.
So he invited me to a show that night. I gave the band my CD. I told them I was recording in town. That's the first time that I met them, and then we played three or four shows actually opening up for them in New York.
Nice.
And I did ask. I remember I asked. I go, I'm like, you're Rob Zombie's brother, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
all he said.
oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did ask him about Halloween once. I go, yeah, well, he's remaking Halloween and all that, and he didn't really have much to say. But see, now he's
Right.
making horror movies, and I'm making horror movies. So all these hard rocker guys, we all want to make horror movies.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
actually producing a movie right now.
there you go.
Um, yeah, and it's
In the wrestling world, there's so many movies, all the actors and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, there's a new wrestling horror movie coming out really soon, actually. I think Chris Jericho's in it. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I just saw an
Okay.
ad for it, but it's like these these wrestlers get invited to this like wrestling convention to put on a show, and it turns out like they're wrestling for the devil or something like that. Like, yeah, I was just like, okay, I'll
That's
watch it.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
cool.
But my movie's kind of like a horror movie slash romantic comedy, which is an interesting combination. I think it's gonna have a
Yeah.
cool tone. Yeah.
Like a warm
So,
body, sort of, maybe.
um, maybe, maybe. I don't want to talk about it because we're not gonna really advertise the
Oh, okay.
yeah, we're gonna maybe I've said too much already, but but
Nah, nah, that's just
yeah,
enough. Just
yeah,
enough.
we're gonna sell it a little differently than what it actually ends up being when you get there. That's
Yeah,
what we're
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I know what you
yeah,
mean. Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah, these horror movies and stuff, it's interesting the way they're marketed or where they go. Like
right,
I believe Tubi has my first movie, Lost Chronicles, as a horror
really,
thriller, which I guess so. And the second one
yeah,
is more of a horror movie, and the third one is like a horror fantasy sort of. It's kind of,
okay,
I mean, it deals with
sure,
witches and nightmares. They're all basically, it's a trilogy of the same movies, but if you've never seen each movie, it really doesn't matter.
okay,
But it,
okay,
it is the common thread is it's me having all these nightmares and thinking of these scenarios, basically deaths and stuff that happened to me or my friends or driving me nuts sort of thing. And then at the
Nice.
third one, you find out why. You find out who's doing this and like why am I having kind of these random dreams that are, if you're really clever, if you watch all three, they are
You can connect them.
connected. Yeah, there's a thing with
Yeah.
water. There's like little Easter eggs in there that are all kind of
Okay.
things people say too. I
Okay.
realized that in shooting. So I realized that during shooting and editing, and I go, okay, well, when I do another one, I'm gonna make sure I say this stuff again and then do this again.
Nice.
Because it just
Nice.
happened. I go, there's a theme in here. I didn't even realize.
Right, right.
You
It's
just never
funny.
know.
Have you watched From at all?
No.
Okay, so it's like a new, well, it's not new now. It's on its third season, which is about to be its final season, but it's a
Oh,
horror
okay.
show from the guys who made Lost.
Oh,
Um
really? What's
yeah,
that
and
on?
it's on MGM Plus. You
Okay,
can
I
get it
don't
through
have that. So.
you can get it through Prime. It's only like $6 a month, but
Oh,
I
okay.
got it literally just to watch this series. But
That's cool.
yeah, but the thing is, people are trying to figure out the secret behind it. And they're like, that's one of the biggest things is like the community is looking for Easter eggs and trying to figure out where they actually are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because basically they're driving down the street or the road in the middle of the woods. They see this log in the road. If you turn around, you end up in this town that's nowhere, that's populated by people who have gotten lost and monsters who freaking eat people. And the
Okay.
monsters only come out at night. So
Okay.
you kind of got the daytime to prepare, but once night comes, you got to get in the house because,
Okay, I
and
gotcha.
they try to trick you into coming out. Like they set up scenarios where you kind of have to come out, and like it's pretty crazy.
Okay.
So,
That
so
sounds cool.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But my thing that I've started to say to people in the community, and no one is listening, I'm like, maybe there is no big surprise. I was like, if you read through the looking glass, Wonderland is just Wonderland. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe it's
It's just
just a
nuts.
messed up place where messed up stuff happens. Maybe, and
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, it's a scientific experiment. They're all in comas. They're all dead." I'm
Um,
just like, maybe it's just a jacked up place, dude. and,
yeah.
and no
Oh,
one,
so they're not reading it as a straightforward story like that. They're
right?
saying, well, they're being
Yeah,
experimented on or something.
right, right. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, maybe not. And no one is with me on it, but
I guess that was kind of like my movies, but
yeah,
you can clearly tell I'm having nightmares, so it's set up
right,
that way.
right, right.
So yeah, I do have a fourth horror movie that's a serial killer movie. It's something
Nice,
different. And
nice.
that hopefully will be out next year. I'm finishing up that now. And then I have a TV series based off the movies. It's kind of recut, rearranged into episodes.
Okay,
So people that have never seen the movies, if they happen to see the TV series instead, at least see a new audience is seeing it
for sure, for sure.
basically. And if you've seen the movies already, it's just recut kind of little different versions of it.
Okay,
Where you might be
cool.
like, "Oh, that's cool. That might flows better," or "Oh, wow, you rearrange that scene different. Now it means something
Yeah.
different." You know what I mean?
Sure, sure. Yeah,
I took
definitely.
one of the deaths in the movie that happened later and I put it more towards, I think, in the beginning.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, that works too.
Right,
So, but it's funny, I call them low budget, no budget movies. I have
right,
no
right,
no
right.
budget at all making these
Yeah,
movies. I said in
yeah.
another podcast, I go, I'm not Spielberg. You know what I mean? I don't
Right.
have any, budget for that. And they're probably like, well, you don't need a budget to be Spielberg or this and this. And
Yes, you
yeah,
do.
you do. You need a shark and
Yeah,
you need all that
yeah.
stuff.
You definitely do, man.
You do
I
need it's even better lenses. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's what I mean is yeah, you can convey your image, it can look really good, but having better technology too, you can do more things. So
sure,
I
sure.
caved in and bought a Blackmagic 12K camera because I knew that it would heighten the game,
Right.
and it
Yeah,
does. It really
yeah.
does. It's really
Definitely.
nice. And I'm like,
Yeah.
the closer I can get my footage to look more towards, I call it, that looks like a movie. Even though it is
Yeah,
a movie,
like
I go, that
cinematic. Yeah,
yeah, I go, that looks like a movie that shot.
yeah,
So
yeah. Because everybody thinks they can make the Blair Witch Project, but
they
you
can.
can't. They can, but you can't
Yeah.
make it over and over again
Hmm.
and have people give a crap. You know.
That's true. I
Um.
actually am kind of doing something like that too next year.
Okay, right
but
on.
it's not that straightforward. It's you take
Yeah,
Evil Dead and kind of Ash's charm, and you
yeah,
take like the guy from the new Twisters movie where he's got like the reality show or Ghost Hunters,
sure.
and you throw him on something like that type of
Yeah.
platform.
I actually got Bruce Campbell's agent's number today. I'm going to see if I can get
Just
him on the
today,
podcast next year.
you
Yeah,
should.
I love
You
Bruce
should, and then
Campbell,
we'll
dude.
get him in a movie.
Hell yeah. he's
Can
he's
you just
like
do this one line that says,
he's like 10 grand for a
movie?
1 day shoot. So I
Is he
mean,
really?
honestly, that's not. He could generate you $10,000 worth of sales if
We got to do a campaign then, a
absolutely,
GoFundMe
dude. Yeah,
campaign,
for
and
sure. Bring
I'll
Bruce
fly
Campbell.
out and we'll just do the movie together.
Yeah, dude, I'm down.
We'll just do
That'd be
it.
awesome. That'd be fire, man.
Yeah.
Um, have you seen Hysteria? I just binged it.
Um, no,
Oh, I
actually,
just
I
binged it.
haven't been
It's
watching much at all lately because
right
I've
on.
been making movies. That's all
Yeah,
I've been
fair,
doing.
fair.
Yeah.
I have a job where I work overnights,
Oh,
um,
okay.
and I'm a home health aide. So once my client goes to sleep, I have free access to the TV.
There
So
you go.
I watched Hysteria in one night. Um,
I
it was
watch
really
some
good.
things. You know what I'm doing though is I'm rewatching 80s movies that nobody have
Sure.
ever seen, or maybe they came out in like Florida for the weekend. I've heard of
Right,
those
right.
movies, and I'm like,
Yeah,
they're all on Tubi. Like
yeah, of course.
Madman is one of them. It's a
Okay.
Friday the 13th, basically, but the killer's like this hillbilly. I don't know. They tried to make him like Bigfoot,
Interesting.
but it's Friday the 13th. It's completely Friday the
Okay.
13th.
Yeah, yeah,
There was another one called like it's a really weird name, like
yeah.
Hollow, almost like Halloween, but it's like
Okay.
Halloween, but it's something different.
That's hilarious.
And
Oh man.
that was kind of like the Fun House, another take on the Fun House in a
Yeah.
way,
Cool.
and
Okay.
certain things like
Okay.
that. So I'm like, all right, Motel Hell and
Sure.
Tourist Trap is another one.
Okay.
That's like a hidden gem to me. Tourist Trap.
Tourist trap.
Yeah, it's like Chainsaw Massacre and Fun House together.
Interesting.
It's really cool.
Interesting. Cool.
So what I'm doing is I'm gathering these ideas of, all right, these movies, they didn't make mainstream. They might have a
Right.
cult following, but
Sure.
they didn't make it. It's not a Halloween. Doesn't mean it's a franchise, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Shining was never a franchise, right? It's a
Right.
one movie,
Right.
and until the sequel, but and the remake, the TV remake,
Right.
whatever that
Right.
came out.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a lot of these good ideas. Now, are these ideas just not mainstream, or
Right.
did the approach to these ideas not make it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
So if we could take, I don't know, let's say Tourist Trap or Motel Hell, and then
Right.
throw it into it, will the audience accept that? Now, I think what it is, these movies are actually ahead of their time.
Yeah.
They might not have been as good. They might not have had the budget, or the actors. Some of the actors are
Right.
really bad, but
Right. Sure.
those ideas, I go, they're actually making movies like that now.
Yeah.
And these
Yeah.
are in the 80s.
I, oh,
These are
I
81.
watched, yeah. I watched a movie where all these influencers came out to a house under the premise was that they were going to get like this deal.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I think so.
and it ended up being vampires. There was nobody in that movie who was a name, like, but it was
Yeah.
a really cool movie, man. I liked it a lot. Like by the
Mhm.
end of it, I was just like, this movie was fun. It was really good.
And that's
Um,
what Hollywood should do.
yeah, yeah,
If they're going to cast a new Iron Man, don't go with, whoever the biggest actor is now.
right.
You know.
And I mean, honestly, like if you look at Terrifier, that didn't have a budget,
No.
or
I'm
even
like,
like,
that must be huge because everybody's been talking about it. Every podcast, radio thing. Like,
yeah. So
I
the
remember the
third
way it
one,
started.
yeah, the third one just came out and like people are going crazy.
Yeah. He's
People are
showing up
throwing
everywhere.
and yeah. So yeah, he's in like YouTube videos where people are dressing up like him and scaring people and stuff. So
That
that's,
rock band, metal band has him in his music video. Something
dude.
Ice Nine Kills or something it's called.
Oh, Ice Nine Kills. Sure, they do a bunch of horror themed songs and albums and
Yeah.
stuff. Um,
But
and X too. Like X had Jenna Ortega, but at the same time, it was kind of a small, like nobody else in that cast. Never heard of anybody else in that cast,
No,
and she had kind of a
I'd watched the
smaller
third
role.
movie. I didn't
Right?
even know they existed. I watched the third one, Pearl, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is like Wizard of Oz meets I thought it was a Misery origin story.
Oh, nice.
And
Nice.
I mean, she acts a lot like Kathy.
Kathy Bates. Yeah.
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 But the first one is entirely different. I just watched
Right.
that and I was like, what's this movie?
Yeah. They're
I
going to the
mean,
woods to shoot a porn movie, or yeah,
yeah, I
it's
mean her
in the
character
70s.
is old in that.
Right.
But
Right.
I
Right.
actually like the new one better. I like the one
Yeah.
that just Pearl that they came out with.
Nice. I watched X. I haven't seen the other ones, but
I haven't
um,
seen Maxine yet. That's in the
okay.
80s. I
Right.
do say though, it looks exactly like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's
And that's what I
shot well.
argue. I've argued that. I go, why the heck? When they make that when they made that Chainsaw Massacre movie and the footage took place right after it, the 3D
Yeah.
one, like
Yeah.
why doesn't it look the same as
Right.
70? It's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Yeah. The one with Jessica Biel.
No,
'Cause I was just gonna say the one with Jessica.
Andrea Diodario or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I watched that one too. Alexandria. Yeah, I like her. I like her movies.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, she's a good actress. Honestly, it's just I think.
She was originally in a horror movie that the guy is from New York.
Yeah.
I think his name's Stefan Mena.
Okay.
He made 3 movies, and the second movie had Kyle Reese from Terminator, Michael Biehn,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's her first horror movie. It's called
Oh, yeah.
Benevolence or Benevolent.
Oh, I think yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen. I haven't watched that. I think I started watching it and then fell asleep, which happens to me too much, honestly.
Well, you're
But
from New York
no,
too, but
well,
this guy's from New York too, and
awesome.
he's kind of got that underground cult following. But
Yeah.
I'm Facebook friends with him too, and a couple of guys. Another guy
Well,
just made a Creeping Death that debuted on Screambox and other thing. He lives in New York too, but he works
oh,
back and
cool.
forth with in LA, Matt something,
Yeah.
and he just worked on a Daughtry music video. And I'm like, well, I worked with Brian on my song Daughtry, or on the
Right.
Break These Chains song. I worked
Okay.
with the drummer and all that. It's everyone I come across now either has worked with Daughtry, the Day of Fire guys, Full Devil Jacket, or somebody from my past. And I'm like,
That's cool. It's a lot of crossover,
it's
dude. Yeah.
weird though. Like
Yeah.
everybody that I meet, you know what I mean? Or 6
Yeah.
a.m. Like lately, everybody's
Oh,
like
nice.
something with the 6 a.m. world. I'm like,
Yeah. I love the way that first record sounds. That first 6 a.m. record.
oh, yeah.
So, man, so
So you
good.
guys, if you go to my YouTube, I interview music guys. I've interviewed James twice, and he's
That's
my more recent interview too.
awesome.
Great,
Awesome.
great dude. Great. We talk
Awesome.
gear on my show, so we get a little nerdy.
Oh, nice. Nice. It's funny. I
Yeah.
remember when I was playing out, like my guitarist, he loved PV amps. That was his thing
Yeah.
with PVs, dude.
I
Those were
hated him. Yeah, I didn't like
he
him.
loved them. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know what it was, but yeah, he always every time he upgraded, he'd get a PV amp, and I'm just like, dude, don't you want like? He's like, he
Yeah.
just loved the way they sounded. I don't know, man.
Something with more balls.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
To me, it
that's
was a classic rock sound. If you want to do
yeah, well,
ZZ
that was
Top or
yeah, and I think that was kind of the thing. Like, I'm 50, so we're talking, the very late to mid 80s, and we were
yeah,
definitely like a hard rock band, but it was hard rock like what was hard rock back then. You know what I mean? It wasn't
yeah,
like even the guitar
early
sound even on
metal.
some of
Yeah.
the thrash albums and stuff is a little thin. It's just kind of what was out there at the time. So
Yeah.
you
Yep.
wanted that like high, like high frequency,
High
like
gain. Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
it's just
yeah.
what people were looking
Blow your
for.
ears off. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm deaf. So
Yeah.
so there you go. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's what happens when you're playing in a room and you turn all the amps towards yourself so you can hear yourself.
Yes.
That's literally how we rehearsed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd be like,
Yeah.
well,
I'm doing
we should
that.
face the amps at us so we can hear what we really sound like. Because we were 18-year-old kids. And
Yep. I've always done that too, believe it or
yeah,
not.
Yeah, it's not a great idea to be
Face the
honest.
PA right in my face. All right.
Yeah,
Because with the microphone, right? The microphone's
yeah,
this way and the PA is facing you as well, so it won't feed
right,
back.
right, right,
So
right.
that's good for feedback. There you
Yeah, for
go.
sure, absolutely.
But so
So
we got to one of your questions here when the last.
right, right, and we just started going off on a tangent, man. It's cool, dude. That's what this,
Thanks everybody.
conversations are dope, brother. you know, it's
uh
it's just some guests come on and it's like they just want the questions and we go through the questions and it's
yep.
so cool. And then other times we just have common interests and we just start riffing on things.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah.
It's hard. I've interviewed people where I've asked them questions, they go, "Yep."
Oh man, thankfully I've never gotten that.
Yeah.
Everybody who comes on has been a storyteller so far. So
Good.
that's positive, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you got to work it a little bit depending on the guest sometimes. And I'm like,
Right.
oh man,
Right.
I'm trying to find something. And I ask him about like his family. Okay, that's
Yeah.
dead. I'm asking about
Yeah.
this, you know.
Man. Yeah.
He
I
likes
try to
golf. I know nothing about golf. I started talking about whatever, you know.
right. I try to pull out at least a half hour out of everybody. And if we get an hour or so, then that's dope.
Yeah.
And that's funny. I had a guy, Ilsun 4K, come on.
Hmm.
And he's a YouTuber and an actor. He does horror reviews and stuff like that. He's a live streamer,
Oh,
and
okay.
he was supposed to be our first guest, but we had like technical issues.
Oh,
So
okay.
once we got it straightened out, he came back on. But because he was supposed to be our first guest, he knew the format of the podcast, and we're kind of cool with each other at this point now. We've had some conversations and stuff. So he comes on, and I introduce him, and he answers every single question before I ask it. Like he knew the direction of the podcast. So
That's
he just
cool.
told his whole story. And then we spent almost 2 hours
Just
just
chatting.
just talking and
That's
like
cool.
cutting up and stuff. It was insane. And then I think we edited it down to like an hour and 38 minutes, but it's still easily our longest podcast.
That's
like,
awesome.
and it was fun, man. It was super fun. He was like, I want to come back, and I'm like, yeah, dude. But it
You know
was
what?
so
I'll answer all your questions.
yeah,
Here we
I was
go.
like, I don't have
Come
anything to
on.
ask him now. I guess we're just gonna freaking talk about horror for the
Yeah.
next
Let's
next
just make it
however
up,
long.
man.
Yeah, it was so
Improv.
funny. Yeah, but yeah, if you go back and listen to the Ilsun 4K episode, it's like,
So
hey,
that's
how's it
all
going,
just
man? Hey, blah 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 blah. Blah. He answers everything I'm about to ask him. I was like, great.
that's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess kind of backing up
Yeah, I mean,
to what would have been the second question. Um, Once you decided that you wanted to make music, how did you go about actually making music? Like you got your guitar and everything, but then um, getting it out there for people and starting a band or whatever. How did that all come together?
probably working. My first job was working at a guitar store,
Nice.
and it was really the owner that introduced me into, well, this records sound, So I used to use my VHS camera, right? When I used to make like I don't know, really small movies and stuff like that,
Sure.
like really with my friends. And I still make movies with my friends, but you know what I mean? Like when you're 9 years old and you have a VHS camera, you're just, I'm out in the woods. I'm filming I'm filming like a whole movie based off a tree,
Nice.
something.
Nice.
And, so I used to do the music and press play and record onto the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
So I found out, okay, there was like an audio medium that you could actually, record stuff to. So it was like a Foztech 4-track tape recorder. Then it
Right.
moved to like a Boss digital system. Then it moved to Windows XP I don't think I had 98. It was XP.
Okay.
Then I started editing movies digitally too, because I used to do them manually.
Right.
I don't
Right.
ever want to do that again.
Yeah, I actually liked
Ooh,
manual editing a lot better than digital editing. I can't pick up the digital stuff. That's why I'm
really?
not
Oh, I
editing
love.
anything.
See, the digital editing I love, but I
Yeah.
love the analog recording form a little better
Sure. Sure. Sure.
because it is what it is,
Yeah.
right? You can't
Yeah.
fiddle
Definitely.
around with that for 80 days.
Right. Right.
So, um, I had a high school band and they left their instruments at my house and I started playing a little bit of each instrument. And then
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy a drum set, buy a bass and all that. And I go, you know what? I can just record song ideas myself, all the instruments, and
There
I
you go.
would burn. I had a master disc CD burner that had two sides,
Oh, nice.
and I would bounce the tape onto it through a Behringer mixer,
Okay.
and I would sell those CDs. I would make 10 or 20 of them. I made
Yeah,
like 10 different albums, and I would make 10 or 20 different CDs and sell them all to kids in school. I
that's
would sell
awesome.
them to kids that didn't want them.
Awesome. Take it.
And I'd come to school with a CD player, and
Yeah.
before school, after school, and in my study halls, I used to listen to Metallica, Judas Priest, Megadeth, and that's all I had was one CD that day. So I would
Yeah.
listen to that record at least 4 times a day, and it would just
Right.
get ingrained in my brain. And I would
Yeah.
start doing like little cover songs, and little original ideas revolving around it.
Yeah.
So I hate to say, like when I first started off, like I mimicked Dave Mustaine and Metallica and
Sure.
Creed, and because I didn't know how to sing,
Yeah.
so I was just like, well, maybe because my act going back, right? With my action figures, I used to do all these different voices for all the different
Yeah.
characters. So I go, if I do that, it's just music. I'm doing different characters, right? Let's do
Yeah.
Creed and all this. So
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
my mom's like, well, where's your voice? Right? Eventually.
Right.
So it took me
Right.
maybe 10 years to find my what my own voice would be, that kind
Yeah.
of
Sure.
gritty whatever it is. And trying to think of the question. I just started making demo CDs that I would send to local radio stations and indie record companies back in the day. So it was like 2006,
Okay.
and I just did it myself, sent it out. All right, that's I've gone as far as I could. I've gained 10 radio stations, and I sent it to 20 labels. I heard back from 2,
Okay. Hey,
or whatever.
10%, man. That's,
Well, and
yeah.
then I would say, okay, let's ditch that. Okay, I'm gonna make another one. Then I'll send it
Right.
to those 20 stations, but then let's make it 40 stations, and let's make it like 40 record labels. The ones that you could actually still send your stuff back then.
Yeah.
Where now you can't send it like at all anywhere.
Right. Right.
And
Everything is just programmed.
it's
Like,
so tough. Where I was like, I was 10 or 15 years behind the game, where it's like if I came out with the stuff I had now and it
yeah.
was 2006 and I
Yeah.
sent it to, you could send it to Virgin Records still, like just
Right.
to
Sure.
them, like
Yeah.
whatever. I was like, oh boy, that would have been, who knows, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But
It's so different now. Like, streaming has really changed everything. I mean,
yeah,
it's harder to make money, but it's easier to get your music out, but then it's harder to get it distributed on a national level, really, because there's
there
so
is no
many.
national level.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
just so many people just putting stuff out. Like, there's nothing that's gonna, you can sign up for like a licensing
Yep.
deal where they throw your stuff out to different movies and different commercials and stuff like
It
that, and
just
maybe
sits
somebody will hear
there.
it and like it. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, but
Majority end up in the catalog.
yeah,
I'm still in a few of them, but I've been in like 6 of them, and I'm like, I told him, I go, doesn't do you guys any good or me any good. It's
right.
like, because
'Cause
we're in
it's
it together, right? I go,
yeah,
don't you guys
yeah.
want to get paid? I go,
Let's pitch it. Yeah,
come on.
yeah.
I do some stuff for like Push Audio that I don't own. And
Okay.
I mean, it's still, so I do those releases as Palangi Studios rather than myself.
Yeah.
But I'm like, so I make a song and I hand it to them, and then they do basically whatever they want to it.
Right. Right.
So if
Sure.
it ends in something, yeah, it would say my name, but in the end of the day is I don't own it, right? So I can't
Right.
recreate it.
Right.
I can't use it for something else.
Right.
So, but if you're creating a lot, you do create a lot of extra, I don't want to call it garbage, but it's just extra stuff that you're like,
Sure.
I'm not really going to release this. This is like B-side material or demo stuff. Let me
Right. Right.
remix it quick so it doesn't sound, that bad, and do a master, and then I'll give him that stuff
Yeah.
and see where
Yeah.
that goes. Because the notion is, right, you have to start to make money with this. So why
You
would you do
think,
the
yeah.
highest production song or spend all that time on stuff you aren't getting any returns back at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
So until you do, right, you're kind of like, well, I think you should set a bar for yourself and be like, I'm only allowed to spend a day,
Right.
whatever, on this, and then that's
Right.
it.
Right.
Because you aren't getting paid for it. You know,
Yeah.
maybe yeah, there's exceptions where maybe you give them one song that's like, radio friendly, ready to go, and you're like, maybe this one we can do the most with, you know.
Yeah. So that's like the single kind of is
Yeah.
what they would look at it like, back when there was such a thing as singles. So
Yeah, well, there
yeah.
still is in digital age, but
Yeah.
yeah, right. You'd send the single to the radio station that was a two-sided thing, and there you
Right.
go. They'd
Right.
either pick one or the other.
Yeah. Someone likes the B side better and it blows up. That I always love stories like that,
Hmm.
dude, where it's like this wasn't the song that was supposed to be the big song and it ends up
Oh
taking off.
yeah,
Yeah. I
Daughtry has like a B-side CD, and I really liked it. I think it's a
yeah.
B-side for their second album, and I go, there's a lot of songs on here that was more rock,
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
little bit heavier, and I was
Yeah.
like, I really like those a lot better, but they went a different direction.
Yeah. They definitely
So,
Daughtry's a super melodic band. Like,
mm.
you know,
Yeah,
um,
Brian, man, his riffs and his melodies, and Josh,
yeah.
both Joshes.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I know like both Joshes aren't in the band anymore, but yeah, there's just so much come out of those guys. I realized it. So Brian produced Break These Chains, and
Okay.
we went through kind of the process of basically a riff, right?
Yeah.
Starting with a riff and go from there. Because I go, all right, I got the song idea. I go, I wrote it in a half an hour, and I go, I think it's really, really good. I go, it's like the intro to the chorus of the song,
Yeah.
and I was like, maybe we could throw this in there. So he comes out with this melodic like guitar thing, and then he ends up he does like the backup vocals, and he did the guitar solo and stuff in the
Okay.
song, and you can clearly tell that's like a Daughtry-esque kind of
Right.
heavier rock guitar solo.
Right.
Now at the
Right.
time they weren't that heavy. I swear, 2015 is when I worked with them. I go,
Yeah.
if you guys went heavier, you would clean up.
Right.
Now they're
And they
doing
listened.
that. They're
Yeah.
doing that. Well, it's
Nice.
just I know record labels. It sounded like the record labels really wouldn't let Chris do whatever, but
Yeah.
now he's back doing because he always loved rock stuff. He
Sure.
opened
Sure.
for Day of Fire back
Okay.
when Daughtry wasn't even Daughtry.
Right.
And then it flipped, and Day of Fire opened up for Daughtry.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
so I told you, it all starts with Josh Brown from like Full Devil Jacket and another guy.
Yeah.
That it's just like a circle. Everyone I meet and work with, I don't seek this out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
plan on this or anything, but those guys are all super nice. They're great to work with. His last drummer, Brandon, was really good.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So, so it sounds like you were kind of always interested in making films too, like right alongside with the music.
Yeah.
Um,
I
since
call myself people, well, it's hard to explain. It's sort of the godfather of YouTube fan films. The way I
okay.
say that is I'm not like the first guy to make a fan film, but
Yeah.
there was only 10 to 20 to 15 of us on YouTube in 2004 making fan films.
Sure.
Now there's thousands, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
our films would get a lot of views.
Right.
Blinky Productions, I think you know Chris.
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
he inspired me to do that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
That's
I was
awesome.
like, if he can make that fan film, maybe we can make our own Michael Myers and then do this.
Sure.
Quality
Yeah.
wasn't as good, you know,
Hey.
but he was a little
Yeah.
older than I was, so
Right.
he had a better camera, I don't
Yeah,
know.
for sure. Yeah, I remember the first time I ever got fooled by like a fan made trailer. Um
Yes, I remember those. Yeah.
someone had made they had taken Firefly, scenes from Firefly, and intercut it with some stuff from Green Lantern and made it look like Nathan Fillion was going to be in the new Green Lantern movie that didn't even exist.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
was totally like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And then I was like, "Wait, this is Firefly."
Yep.
Like, so
Do you remember
Man, well,
RoboCop versus Terminator? They took the footage of all the Terminator movies and RoboCop movies, and they made RoboCop versus Terminator.
no, but I need to look that up now.
That fooled me. That was my first
Yeah,
one. I was like,
yeah.
but I've done some voiceover and some music stuff for Chris too with his movies, like his
Okay.
Freddy Krueger ones and whatever.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
so I've always made fan films for like 20 years in between. With one original film went to the New York City Film Festival we made. It was only
Oh, cool.
like I think like 15 minutes or something.
Right.
That and like the Lost little 4-part YouTube series was the only original thing we've ever done.
Okay.
And then I was like, well, I always had this script that I wrote, and I was like, I kind of want to, I don't want to just let that go. I go, I want to kind of want to bring that back somehow because I'm a big fan of Twilight Zone.
Okay. Cool. Yeah,
So I
me
was
too.
like, all right, let's make this character Mr. Omar. We're gonna make a Mr. Omar YouTube series, which is like a 5-part series.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now, because somebody's like, when are you gonna make a movie, like a
Right.
full length movie? So I was like, all right, let's do the Lost Chronicles. We'll bring it back. We'll bring back Mr. Omar. So if you watch, some of those ideas are in all the old YouTube stuff.
Nice. That's
So it was kind
awesome,
of
dude.
cool.
Very cool.
It's an
Very
experiment.
cool.
First movie was an
Yeah,
experiment. It was fun, you know?
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's a couple bands like that I really like the Flash Gordons, the Becoming, and when they're in the studio, actually the singer does everything, and then he assembles a band to play the music out.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the same thing that you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I played with a lot of different people over the years, or I've um played the tracks, or I've played acoustic, or I've played me and electric, or I've played with a 2-piece, 3-piece, 4-piece, maybe a 5-piece, whatever worked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I
So,
remember we opened up for Buck Cherry,
oh, nice.
and I was like, all right, we're gonna do the rock thing, right? My drummer was not available for some reason, or he quit, or whatever the reason was. I
Right.
was like, well, I am not losing this opportunity. So I go,
Yeah, of course.
Jared, let's grab our acoustic guitars and we're gonna make this the heaviest acoustic, set we can.
That's
So
awesome.
so I mean they have some slow songs too, and it's not like
Sure, sure,
Gary's
sure.
like metal.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I did. And I
Right.
remember doing something like that, and then a week later, I'd switch over and do like an electric set with tracks. Or
Okay.
or I did have a drummer available or something like that. And I was like,
Right.
hey, we're gonna do this, but now we don't have a bass player. So
Right.
we're gonna play the tracks, electric and drums.
Okay.
And there's a
Right
battle
on.
of bands on this day, but we don't have a bass player. So we're just gonna literally do electric, acoustic, and drums and have no bass guitar.
That's wild, dude. Yeah.
I don't know
I
if it worked, but
hey, I mean the thing is with tracks, like they're not gonna screw up unless something happens technologically. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You know
And
what you're
these are on
getting out of that.
iPods still.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I went and saw Jacob's Castle. That's Brad Newell's kid from Sublime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's his son, and it's him playing guitar and his drummer, and the third member of the band is like a laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he
That's what I've
literally
done
like
too. Yep.
yeah he literally like he'd be like, okay, hold on, I got to program in the next song real quick. All right, we're ready to go, and then, and then we would like they'd play the song, but it was fun. It was a cool show, and he was like, I met him for a little bit afterwards. He seemed like a really good guy. He sounds just like his dad,
Does he
dude. His
just
vocals
sing
are
or
like
does he play guitar and stuff
no, he
too?
plays guitar. He plays guitar really
Okay.
well, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
at least from what I could tell. I mean, I don't know how much of it was coming out of the computer, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where it gets kind of.
But you
But
know what? That's the way, like if I toured again, that's what I'd want to do. I just
yeah,
me electric guitar and a drummer because you got two guys.
awesome.
It's just
Yeah,
you and one dude to worry about. You know
right.
what I
Sure,
mean?
sure,
The only
sure.
hard part is you don't have anybody else on that stage, so when you need a break or something,
Yeah,
right?
it's all you to take up the space, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
So
sure, man.
the drummer
Yeah,
can only do so much with that.
right, right,
But
right. Yeah, that's I've seen a couple two-piece bands at this point now. I just saw Mr. Flies from Chicago, and I mean, like first of all, you have to be a really good drummer to be the only other musician on that stage.
That's
Like
true.
that is
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
And then the other thing
You
is
need to
like
bring it.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say about the person in the front. Like they have to rock out, like to get the crowd, keep the crowd involved because it's so much different than like watching the polyphonic spree, which is the other end, where there's
Hmm.
50 people on the stage, which is also an amazing
Yeah.
set.
Well,
I
even a
saw,
four-piece band, you're
yeah,
going.
yeah, even a four-piece band. Yeah,
This
there's,
one's
yeah,
just because
yeah,
literally you're centered with the drummer, so it's like you're
right,
not looking left or
right,
right.
right, right. Well,
Yeah.
it was funny because both bands that I saw had the drummer off to the left side of the stage. So
Oh,
he
okay.
wasn't straight on.
So
He
it was
was
like
like
that.
kind of, yeah, yep, exactly like that. Yeah.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, and it made, it gave a little bit more of a dynamic as far as looking back and forth. It's funny because I saw Dog Star and
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves literally just stands with his hair in his face playing bass. He does nothing, dude. Like he's just over there just rocking out, but
Really? Kind of
doing
his own world.
nothing. Yeah, yeah. I think he's just happy to be playing music, like because he's got all
Yeah.
that other stuff, you
Yeah.
know.
He doesn't need to impress anybody. He's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, he's got to be
John
Keanu
Wick's
Reeves.
up there, like, killing the
Right,
axe.
right. He's got to be Keanu Reeves all the time. And in Dog Star, he's just a bass
Why?
player. Yeah.
Next song.
Yeah. And he doesn't even sing, dude. So he literally does nothing. Like he just stands in the corner
Oh,
with his hair in his
jeez.
face playing bass, dude.
That's
And
cool.
it's all the singer. He's all like,
As the drummer, you
yeah.
know.
He goes, and on bass, Keanu Reeves when he introduces the band, and obviously that gets a pop. But
Yep.
it's pretty
That's
pretty
cool.
funny. So so I was gonna ask you, when you put stuff together in the studio, do you think about what you're gonna do with it in a live setting, or do you just no?
No, I used to. I don't anymore at all.
Yeah,
I don't care. I
yeah,
don't care if there's like four guitar parts in there.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, just
Because
Pink
I'm
Floyd
like,
it.
yeah, I'm like I can have it in the background, or the two main guitar parts are good enough where you can play
Sure.
one or the other and still get the song across.
Yeah. Because that's
You
one thing
know?
that I noticed when I was listening to your stuff. Like a lot of it is really big. Like there's a lot going
Hmm.
on, not in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
yeah, like all the space is taken up. You know what I mean? You hear,
that's what I
I don't know how
want.
else to say it, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
sonically, it's that way. Yeah, too.
right, for sure. Yeah,
Yep. I mean, it's still mostly just two main guitar takes, which is one guitar. Sometimes there's a second one
right,
with vocals, little backup, drums and bass, but then there's a little bit of like shakers and maybe synth stuff or something, but
sure, sure, sure.
it's
I
not
mean,
like 'cause I know how Nickelback does it. It's not like we
right,
layer triple guitars and then you need like three guitarists, and
right, right, right.
it's really I think too is because of the acoustic in some of
Yeah,
them that adds
yeah, yeah,
that, where it's like it's rock but then there's
yeah.
acoustic
You
in
hear that
there.
undertone? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Layers,
remember.
but in a different
Yeah,
way.
I remember a lot of people used to complain about Chris Cornell's live vocals because he
Strong.
wouldn't. Yeah, but he wouldn't do the like if you listen to old Soundgarden where he's singing like
Oh, it's
he would do
doubled. Yeah. Oh
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
he would do
Tripled.
those vocals. You know what I mean? Even on the newer stuff, he wouldn't do like the melody that people necessarily know. Most of the time
Yeah.
when they were singing it
He just
live,
sing the lyrics.
he would sing the heavy part of it, and
Yeah.
people would be like, "Oh, well, I wanted every song to sound like Black Hole Sun," and it's like, well, then listen to the record. This isn't what he does live. I always
Hmm.
thought Chris Cornell was like the greatest singer alive, and whenever I would hear people complain about his voice, I'm like, dude, you don't get it. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
can do that stuff. He just can't do that stuff when he's singing it by himself. So you're in a
Yeah.
rock show. You know what I mean? Like he's
Even with a
out there.
pedal, it's
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
He's
know. He would
yeah.
need a track, which he never played
Right,
to.
which he never
So
did. Yeah, he just get up there and freaking rock out, dude. And it was
I
like,
seen him on the acoustic tour 3 months before he died.
oh man,
Yep. And
jeez.
he brought out the record player that he sang through and stuff to get that. That's how he
Oh
got that little
yeah, yeah.
extra grit.
Right,
And you
sure,
could
sure.
hear it go like that.
It's awesome,
That was
man.
cool.
I'm
Oh, he was
sure.
loud. I mean, he was
Yeah,
loud.
yeah.
The other guy
I
just played guitar, a little bit of like what is it? Like a ukulele,
Oh,
some
nice.
songs. Yeah,
Cool. Cool.
yeah, and that was cool.
Yeah, I saw him on the second Lollapalooza. So it was
Yeah,
like, you know, slaves and bulldozers and freaking just, the super heavy, like they were touring for
that would
Outshine
be
or
cool.
for yeah, what was that album? Bad Motorfinger, on
Yeah,
that on at Lollapalooza too. So it was just, man, so good.
full experience.
Yeah, yeah. You got
Yeah, I never got to see
chemistry with all
that or
that
like Linkin
feedback.
Park.
Oh yeah, I never saw Linkin
Like the
Park either.
bands. Yeah,
That would have been crazy, man.
yeah.
But the whole new Linkin Park thing
It's
sounds good. I don't know.
a different band.
Yeah, it's a different band. I mean, it sounds good, but it's totally a different band. It's like Audio Slave. Audio Slave wasn't Soundgarden or Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's kind of like
yeah.
Linkin Park,
I'm kind of thinking they should have named it something different,
something else.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because it's not Van Halen. Like with Van
No.
Halen, they would get a different singer. It still sounded like Van Halen because it was still Eddie. But
Yeah. There's
but
people that sound like Chester. I think they
yeah,
wanted nobody even that sounded like him. So no
right,
male artist out there,
right, sure,
right?
sure,
Female artists, they don't have to worry about, does she sound like him? No, she doesn't.
right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right. But yeah, even with it being like, I'm gonna assume it's the entire backing band still. Like it's still Linkin Park, just with a
I
brand new
think it's the
singer.
original guys. Yeah.
Yeah, they still might have wanted to call it something else. Like Audio Slave wasn't Rage Against the Machine, but it literally was. It was Rage Against the Machine with Chris Cornell singing, but they
Yeah.
didn't call themselves Rage Against the Machine because that would have been freaking silly.
Hmm.
So this girl was in an established band. I mean, maybe they should have named him something else. I don't know.
Yeah, like something park, something else. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
anything like
like a, something that's close to it, maybe, but
right, right. I just listened to Chester's like alternative rock band. I can't think of what they're called right now. Dead something, but it was really good. Like,
oh, okay. Never heard of
yeah.
that.
Oh man, it was really good. I think it's like Dead by Daylight or something like that. But I just listened to the whole album on Spotify, and I liked it a lot. It's so different than Linkin Park. It's not as heavy. His
Yeah.
vocals are so good. Like,
Yeah.
no real screaming on it. Like he's straight singing. Like it's pretty good stuff, man. I'm gonna check it out a couple more times probably because I liked it a lot. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So you're also a teacher. You give guitar lessons and stuff like that. Like
Yep.
how did you get involved in that? Like and what's that like teaching the new generation?
I didn't want to. I didn't ever
Yeah,
want to teach. When I was young, I was like, yeah, I want to be a teacher. And then I don't know, like one of my ex-girlfriends was like, why don't you teach guitar? And I'm like, never. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it.
right.
Um, I was kind of forced into it, I guess, because I realized that I couldn't just play out alone to make my income. You know what I
Right.
mean? Where it's like
Yeah.
you have your merch sales, but that's not going to sustain you, sort of. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I can't do enough gigs or play out enough where I can get ahead.
Right.
So I'm like, I kind of have to. So I think somebody I knew just asked me, and I go, well, since I know you, I don't know. I'll see what I can do. I'll try to teach a couple lessons. And then I had 3 students to start off with.
Okay.
Didn't really know what I was doing as much. I was like, should I start off with scales, chords? Should I just teach them riffs? Should we just go into something more advanced? I didn't really
Right.
know.
Right.
So
Right.
I watched some videos and I just kind of used my judgment based off the person
Okay.
too.
Sure.
And that really helped me. Like, okay, he likes rock. He's
Right.
not good at chords, but he's okay at the single note kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Let's teach him. Oh, he likes movies. All right, let's teach him Halloween and Mission Impossible and
Yeah.
James Bond and all those type of stuff.
Nice.
You
Nice.
know, Little Limp Bizkit, whatever.
Yeah. My
So yeah.
Yeah, my rhythm guitar player, like I only sing and write melodies and lyrics.
Okay.
And my rhythm guitar player in a band that I was in way back in the day, I wanted to get more involved in like the writing of the music, and like I wanted to feel like I was contributing more to the stuff that people cared about. And so he
Yeah.
was like, I'm going to teach you how to play guitar. And he was like, you're going to learn Sunshine of Your Love on one string so that you learn how to go up and down the neck. And I was
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
okay. And like
Simplify it.
strumming
Yep.
and stuff. Yeah. Um, and it took, we tried that for like 3 weeks and I could not get it. My fingers kept laying on the strings. Like no matter
Yeah.
what I did, I couldn't bend them enough. And he was just like, you know what, dude, just sing. Like, so that was my only experience with someone trying to teach me how to play
All
guitar.
right.
It's like,
Well,
like
maybe
just
maybe I ought to start again, you know?
yeah, maybe.
We'll do it a
I mean,
different way.
I'd still love to learn how to play like keyboards, piano,
Okay,
but
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think that
Well, I think too, starting off, because that's kind of the old school way of starting off somebody with a song. It
yeah,
doesn't work.
yeah,
Even if you simplify it to one string.
right,
You just start with just techniques, and then you
yeah,
throw in a few riffs, and
right,
eventually a song, and then the chords. Because I'm like, so my first lessons out there, if anybody were to take lessons and they know nothing at all,
yeah,
is to memorize the string names,
okay,
right? Get used to the spacing in between the strings on your right
yeah,
hand,
yeah,
and play the warm up that Steve Vai does. Because I tell everyone this, I go, he still does this.
wow,
It's 1, 2, 3, 4 on all the
okay,
strings, and then going back up, it's 4, 3, 2, 1.
okay,
Right?
okay,
But there's
yeah,
so much that you can expand just with that
sure,
one thing, and it
sure,
tells your mind this is something simple. I know how to count to four, right? And I got four
right, yeah, of course.
fingers.
Right,
Let's just start off with the down picking, and okay, I goofed
nice,
up on the spacing here, and I can't stretch. Then you realize, okay, can you stretch? Can you not stretch?
right,
How easy is it your left hand or is it your right hand? You know, getting caught
oh,
up.
yeah,
So you
oh, it was
figure all that out in the
yeah,
first
my right
lesson.
hand was me, but yeah,
Yeah, and I can tell, and I'm like, man, you know, you got a killer right hand, but your left hand, you know, it's
yeah,
gonna take some time, you know, or
right.
and
It's
then
funny.
you
I'm
know,
right-handed, but I have a lot more coordination in my left hand. I
yeah,
do everything other than eat and write with my left hand. I even like I shoot with my left hand, like
okay. So
when
you
I'm
might
playing
play this
basketball.
way, but you might
Yeah,
play
it's
this way.
really weird. I don't know. I never learned
You have
enough
to
to figure it out.
try.
but but yeah,
Cool.
it's weird how my left hand is more dominant in everything except eating and writing. Um,
Huh.
it's kind of crazy,
I've
but
never heard that before.
yeah, I might be really. I don't know.
One of a
I'm
kind
unique.
out
Yeah,
there.
I'm unique. One of a
There you
kind. There you
go.
go.
There you
Like
go.
Pantera, right? Isn't that?
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh yeah.
one of a kind. I think that's Pantera. Um,
Uh,
but yeah. So podcasting. Where did the podcasting come in? I want to try to cover everything that you do. So
all right.
yeah. So how did you decide to start podcasting? And once you did start, like how did you reach out to guests? Like what was the idea? Um,
So I didn't have to at first. I was working with New York State Music, and we
okay.
did 2 seasons of a show, a podcast, and he would get the guests, and then I would interview them. And they're all mostly local, kind of indie level. Some bigger, but they have to live in New York. So
Okay.
technically, I think we were trying to get D. Snyder or something because he was originally from New York, and I was like, we
Yeah.
could have him on the show.
Right.
So from there, so I did 2 seasons of that, and I started doing my own during COVID on Instagram and
Okay.
downloading them and just re-uploading them to YouTube.
Yeah.
And I go, well, I'll just ask everybody that I know personally,
Right. Right.
and maybe they'll come on and do this. So then Radio Wigwam approached me, which is a radio station in the UK.
Oh,
He goes, our
nice.
rock and roll DJ just passed away. He goes, he's done it for years, and we need a new rock DJ. Could you make like an audio show? He goes, you could do playlists, you could do interviews. And I'm like, okay. Okay. So I go, if I do the Zoom interviews, I could use the audio, but then I could also use the video. So
Right.
you're doing two in one. Because I thought about it, I'm like, I'm not just gonna do, all right, we're gonna do the audio video or the audio one, then we're gonna do the video one.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So then it just turned into, all right, I was already interviewing people. Let's maybe get a few of the same people, and then I can reach out to literally anybody.
Yeah.
Right? It's a rock show, so I could reach out to the guy from Rat, or which I haven't interviewed him yet.
No.
Or the guy from this and this and this. See what
Yeah.
just see what they do. Because now you have a radio station involved.
Right.
Because
Right. Right.
before it was like, who are you? Okay, you've done this, but
Yeah.
it's for your
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, now
How
that was
many
right.
how many views do you get? Like,
Yeah, and I'm
yeah.
like, that's not really the point. So I'm like, now
Right.
it's all three. It's you get down the radio, you're gonna get interviewed. It's gonna be on all my social media and theirs. So you have
Nice.
triple threat
Nice.
basically going on.
Right.
And I don't know. I wanted to learn more about things, and I go, I'm gonna make this more gear oriented
That's awesome.
too. So we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about the microphones, recording techniques, endorsements, stuff that artists usually don't talk about. And
Yeah.
like this, right? I just have I interviewed the singer of Puddle Mud, Wes,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
and basically, I mean, it's just a conversation,
Right. Right.
right? I have questions written out, but they're used to just like probably the headlines, the same questions about the same albums. I do
Yeah.
ask a few of those just
Right.
because I'm curious, but
Right.
I tell them too, I go, if nobody has ever seen an interview of yours, you
Yeah.
know, I want to ask that from that perspective. Like
Right.
nobody
Right.
knows who the guy from Puddle of Mud is, let's say.
Right.
I'm curious, like, what the heck, where'd you get your first guitar, or something
Yeah.
like
For
that.
sure. Yeah.
But
Definitely.
not dwell on it. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. Keep
So and
moving.
then yeah, and we just talk about whatever. And then they have some things where we have to talk about the new song, the new record, the new music
Of
video.
course. Of course.
But then I start to get, from the film background, music background, I start to get into more specifics.
Right.
And they're like, okay, this is different. I like it. Everyone's like, that's
Yeah.
cool. This show is really cool.
Nice.
You're
Awesome.
not drilling me.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
had a couple people who are completely surprised by my podcast because, first of all, I
Yeah.
research people and I try to figure out what they do,
Yep.
rather than just have like, you know,
Yeah. Well, same thing.
standard
I'll listen to the
stuff.
music. You
Yeah,
check
yeah,
social medias out. You don't just do it and
yeah.
say, okay, you're the singer again.
You know, what do you,
What
what do
band?
you, what do you do? I'm like, yeah, but I mean, you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh, I'm going to have a podcast, and they do nothing to like
No.
make it an actual show, make it something that people are going to be interested in. Um,
Yeah.
and
I get
it's
leads
fun.
from a PR person too, so I can
Yeah,
choose from them and then I'll choose my own. Because everyone's like,
nuts.
how the hell? Like, I interviewed Matt from 3 Days Grace and like, how do you get interviews like that? And I'm
Dude,
like,
yeah,
I just ask them, well, how do you get a hold of these guys? I go, I'm not telling you.
nice. Like, that's my secret, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny too because when I pitched the idea to my producer, he thought we were going to have a hard time getting guests
Uh-huh.
because people want to talk about what they're doing. Not everyone
Yes.
wants to go back and talk about every
The
single
past or
career.
every
Um,
record, right?
but I feel like that's what makes this podcast unique, in that we're not just talking about. I want to get to know the artists and get to know like what's inside their mind and what makes them do the art, like what,
Yeah.
so
I might have
it's
to have you on my show interviewing me, talking about my past. It's because I
cool.
just what you said. I actually would love to talk about each EP,
Oh
but
yeah, dude.
I'm not going to sit there talking to myself for an hour.
Right, dude. This is a review of my own records.
Everybody, the
That
first EP. You know what I
would be
mean?
hilarious.
There's
Yeah,
no
for
back and
sure,
forth
man.
at all with that.
Right.
I've tried it. I have
Yeah.
tried it, but no, not with video going too, because you're like,
Right.
the
Right.
heck do you do?
I guess just hold the EP up if you have physical
Uh,
copy of it. Or like
yeah, this was on
print
CD
out
once.
yeah. This. You ever heard of these things? You can put
Yep.
them in the scenes. People
This
listen
was
to
a
it.
thumb drive back in the day,
Oh man.
or whatever.
Oh,
This is a floppy disk. No shit.
I,
I have
oh
demos on
man.
floppy disks. No crap.
Do you remember? You mentioned Billy Idol a while back. Do you remember Cyberpunk?
The game?
No, Billy Idol came
Oh,
out with an album.
Oh
called
no, no, no.
Cyberpunk that was like it was way ahead of its time, honestly. It was in like the early 90s. And he
Never heard of it. No.
okay, yeah, he made an album of like electronic music that was
Okay.
interactive. And it came with a floppy disk that you could like put in your computer and learn the story of the album, like the Cyberpunk album. Um,
That's
People
cool.
hated it,
Yeah.
but honestly, I
They'd
have
love
it
it
and I
now.
love it. So innovative,
Yeah.
dude. Like he was so far ahead of his time. And on top of that, like Billy Idol is one of my big influences,
Oh
like
yeah.
attitude and music, and like as far as on stage and stuff. I really, really wanted. I did a lot of fist pumping when I was on stage. So
He is I plan on covering one of his songs officially sometime. That would be
nice,
cool.
nice. Not White Wedding.
I don't know.
Too
I
many people
really
have covered White Wedding. I think it's kind of
I do like, but I don't do cover songs the same.
sure,
So
sure.
it'd be different.
Yeah,
It'd
definitely.
be, I don't know. I've heard
I just
Rebel Yell. I've heard like Drowning Pool
okay.
did Rebel Yell. And
Oh, nice,
I
nice.
feel like there's a heavy metal version of that, but I haven't heard a like a hard rock version of White Wedding. It
Um,
might be out there, of course.
Vampires Everywhere. Uh,
Uh,
just put one out like last year.
oh, well, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. So,
I don't know. I
um,
like a lot of his songs, so maybe I'll
I
pick
love
another
Billy Idol
one.
so much,
But
dude. Yeah, I just picked up Whiplash
hey, you
Smile the
never
other
know,
day.
man. We might play this song, you know?
Yes.
That's a nice
It's
song.
yeah. And Steve Stevens is such an underrated guitar player too. Like,
Oh man.
jeez,
I seen him
jeez.
on
Yeah,
like they played Good Morning America and he
yeah,
plays like two guitar parts at the same time. Like they played Rebel Yell and I was like, how
yeah.
is he
I
doing
saw it
that?
too. I saw it too. I was like,
I was
man,
blown away. I was like, there's
yeah,
no
it's
pedals, there's no nothing.
insane. Yeah, dude, he's just so amazing.
He's playing the low.
Yeah, right, right. Crazy, crazy,
Mhm.
man. Well, I think we've gone well over an hour.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, this has been a super fun conversation, man.
Anytime.
So
We could have me on again. We'll dive into something more specific of things, maybe. It'd be kind of
yeah,
cool.
definitely, dude. Well, this the next season, the second season, which we're going to start in March of next year. I think I want to
Okay.
focus on people's influences and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we're
I
going to
should
do a
have a
completely
song
different.
done, maybe out by then, but at least done.
Awesome, awesome, man. Cool.
So
So, before we go, where can people find you? Anything that you want to throw out there and promote? This part is yours, man. So
yeah, you can go to frankpalangi.com. So it's Palangi. Everything's on there, or Google my name. I say Yahoo. I still use Yahoo. So you can
nice,
Yahoo my name if you want. But you'll find all the social medias under my name, or there's Palangi Studios for the studio stuff. That's where the lessons go down, the recording, if anyone needs mixing, mastering, songwriting help, or you want me to play guitar on something, that's where you'd do that. And then in Palangi Films, so if you want like a music video done, interview, promo, short film, horror movie, whatever, contact me about that too. Or so my three new movies once again are Lost Chronicles, Killer Tales, and Souls of the Damned, which you can watch on Tubi for free.
awesome,
So
awesome,
they came out. Now, the Lost Chronicles is on Troma TV. If anybody has the
nice,
Troma app right now,
nice.
hey, I'll
Talk to me.
take it. I'll take it.
Hey, man, they're still huge. You know, people they have trauma conventions still. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
hey,
So,
um,
or you can rent it or purchase the movie on Amazon too.
awesome,
So,
awesome.
which helps us more than the streaming.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and so now the final question, which is kind of the meat of the podcast.
Mm.
Um, what is it that keeps you creating? I mean, you have so much stuff that you're doing, and there's so much stuff going on, and it seems like you have a desire to put out even more stuff. So, what is it that keeps you creating, keeps you putting stuff out into the world?
I think so. I just seen a post and my voice kind of gives out a little bit. So I just seen a post and the guy he goes, I've made movies for a while. He goes, this is a short film. And he goes, my buddy said, why the heck are you making a short film? You make feature films. And he's like, because you either create or you die. I'm
Nice.
gonna just leave it there.
Awesome, man. All right, brother.
I
Thank
just
you
read
so
that
much,
today
man.
too. So that was
That's
a perfect
awesome.
question to ask.
You were prepared, dude.
Yep.
Without
There you
even
go.
knowing it.
Yep.
Killer. All right, man.
It's
Thank you so much
within
for coming, dude.
you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I want to thank Frank Palangi for coming. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank my producer, Tyler Martin, and Emmy Studios. We could not do this thing without him. I'm the talker, but he's the guy who makes it all happen. All right. And make sure you guys tune in next week for another episode of the Most Excellent Entertainment Podcast.